Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Today we're looking at Blacephalon-GX. It just won a regionals in Madison with Ian Robb, and he's pretty much put the archetype back on the map. It's not too surprising, to be honest. I mean, Blacephalon was, one of the top 5, top 6 decks pre-Unbroken Bonds, and then gaining Welder, a fantastic new supporter, just helps it out a lot. So, although it's kind of been overshadowed in the early weeks by Reshizard, Blacephalon's still a big contender in the format, and being just a 2-prize GX Pokemon rather than a tag team means you're less kind of fragile to some of these like water tech sort of answers that people are adding into their decks as well. So Blacephalon boasts a number of reasonable matchups. Zapdos has got a lot better now that a lot of them have reduced their Zeb Striker lines. Your Zoroark is still pretty reasonable. And as mentioned, like the Slowkings and stuff, you don't care as much as like a Reshizard would, because you're just a 2-prize knockout for them. So if you're still like bursting turn 1 and mind blowing and stuff, you're still being pretty reasonable in the prize race. It reminds me of like the Slowking's basically like a Weavile and Zoroark. Like think of them as the same card, because that's functionally how they will still act against Blacephalon. And Blounce always had a positive Zoroark even when they had Weavile in. So Blounce is probably a reasonable Zoro, and then it's still reasonable against the Tag Team GX decks. You can tech in a Mew if you want to improve your Pikarom matchup. Ian didn't play it, and we're not going to be playing it today either, but that's an option if you want to, as well as helping out against that Reshizard. I think really against Reshizard, it's just trying to get the most out of your Welders and Beast Rings, to be honest, so that you can reach these huge numbers. So Blounce, still definitely a top contender. I made 2 changes from Ian's list. I've dropped the Lysander Labs as 1 card, just to go for a second Ultra Space. Actually, I've changed 3 cards. So the second Ultra Space meant that I could flip-flop back the Ball Search cards to a lower count of Ultra than Treasure, because we still have plenty of outs to try and find our Blacephalons early. And obviously the Treasures are less painful for discarding. So I made a quick flip-flop there. Changed the Stadium to double Ultra Space just because I feel like it's just more consistent this way. And I've also dropped the Energy Switch, which was a card that I've kind of been suspicious of in the deck as a one-off copy. I'm not too sure how perfect it is like in the build compared to just having Welders as your backup now. So I've ended up dropping the Energy Switch just for a Lele. Again, more consistency and safety. That's what I always like profiling. I like giving you a simple baseline of a deck and going from there. So let's jump into the list and talk about our card decisions, starting off with for Blacephalon-GX. Here's our main attacker. He's a Fire-type Ultra Beast basic with the 3 attacks, 2 of them for just 1 energy cost. Bursting Burn can burn and confuse the opponent. So if you're missing 1-hit KOs with Mind Blown on board, or if you think it's too painful, you can go for a Bursting Burn instead and confuse the opponent's active, make it more difficult for them to hit into your Blacephalon, so that's always great for you. You can also set up some numbers with that burn here and there. You can put things into like 1 energy less cost of a Mind Blown later down the line, so that's useful. We also have the Burst GX attack for a fire. You discard one of your prize cards. If it's an energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon as well, so really, the functionality is you're taking your prize. You're advancing your win condition of outracing the opponents. But in those high roll situations, you can grab yourself an extra energy attachment as well, which is awesome. Mind Blown is the main selling point, though. You do 50 times the amount of fire energy that you lost zone from your board. So we're going to try and use Beast Rings and Naganadels, as well as manual attachments and Welders, to just get a bunch of energies into play and use this as our damage output for Mind Blown as we lost zone wherever we want to from the board. So we have good flexibility with this attack, and it's just really good output overall. So our Energy Accelerator is the Naga line. I like the Spit Poison Poipole more than the Eye Opener one, because again, similar to how Bursting Burn can set up maths for you, so can Spit Poison. Think about like putting 10 damage on like a Zorua or something to help you out with a Mind Blown later on. There's a few different examples where that can come up. And we then have Naganadel. It's also an Ultra Beast, so you can Beast Ring onto this if you have to. But it's a Psychic type with Charging Up. Once during a turn, you may attach a basic from your discard to this Pokemon. So we're going to try and dump fire energies throughout the game via Treasures, Ultra Balls, and Heat Factory, so that we can have Charging Up targets, which is pretty much what we're looking for. So then we can just Mind Blown off of the Nagas rather than your Blown sometimes for your damage output. We also have the Turning Point attack. It does 80, plus 80 more if you have exactly 3 prize cards remaining. 160 is a much better number now. Previously, Naga wasn't really one-shotting much, but now that the Dene's come into the game, Turning Point is actually very, very relevant. So We have the Beast Energy to push to 190, but also 160 is a much better number now. So, yeah, Naga is very good at knocking out Dedennes if you have to, and reasonable at just trying to be a non-GX in these sort of situations. You can try and make the most out of this turning point attack when you're able to, which is really cool. From there, we have the 1-1 Alolan Muk line. This is basically just in here to shut down Jirachis. That's the main deal here, because we want to deny people their draw, especially the Lightning decks. Zapdos variants will be very awkward for you because they can uptrade on you if they're able to accumulate enough like Electro Powers and whatnot every single turn. So shutting down their Jirachi for their draw is very annoying. Also shuts down Jirachis from Pikaroms and from also Reshizards as well. So Alolan Muk, very, very strong, and is just a nice searchable card in this deck because we have treasures as well. So a really annoying card for them to deal with. Also going to play that one Ditto Prism Star, so we can try and have the double threat of Grimer Ditto. Also acts as a fourth Poipole if ever we need that, which is pretty nice. From there, we have the double Marshadow Let Loose. Let Loose is still very, very strong. Great against any Greens Exploration-based builds out there. Great against stall matchups, and just good in general for you know, taking away a couple cards from your opponent's hand and opening turns, which is always very good for you. As well as being like a reload for us in certain situations. And as mentioned, we have added in the Lele. Now, be very careful about using this against Pikarom. You probably won't do it unless you're really in a pinch, but Wonder Tag is still just a great out. Having 7 more outs in the deck, well, 8 more outs actually with the Lele itself. 8 more outs to find a supporter turn 1, even like off your own Let Loose and stuff, is such a big deal. So Wonder Tag's still probably pretty good. And don't forget, you can Welder to this if you want to go for an energy drive. It'll be very niche, but it's just something you can do, I guess. Onto the trainer cards, we have a very simplistic line. The one Field Blower added in. You could see Ian's intention with the one Field Blower, one Lysander Labs. He's really trying to shut down some tool-reliant decks right now. Baby Blacephalon, Wheezing, lots of escape boards on Jirachis, even like choice bands off of stuff as well. Even getting rid of tools from like Sylvallies and stuff. The Field Blower is just versatile and strong right now. Also very good against the Shedinja archetype, which didn't really do too well in Madison. I think that's kind of like died down a little bit recently. But the Blower and Lysander Labs could help out against those sorts of matchups. So I think because we've seen those matchups sort of decline a little bit, I think I'm comfortable with just the one Blower and not playing Lysander Labs, but the Blower still is a valuable option to have in the deck when we can get use out of it. Then we have the Ball Search. 3 Ultra, 4 Treasure. As mentioned earlier, the winning list played a flip-flop of these, but I've upped to double Ultra Space to try and counterbalance that. The Ultra Ball obviously being more painful in discarding. Obviously, there is those moments where you have more fire energies in your hand and you actually prefer to dump like excess fires. But I feel overall the treasures are just going to be less painful in the long run to play. So still high counts of both, but I'm preferring the Mysterious Treasure overall. 4 Beast Ring is obviously a clutch card in this deck, trying to get activation of that. Effectively, they act as 100 damage for us in a single item card. Think about how Lightning decks play 4 Electro Power, and Hail It is a fantastic option because it gives you a plus 30. Well, Beast Ring is thinning the deck of 2 useless cards, and as well as that, they're giving you 100 damage. So when you think about the Beast Rings that way, they're pretty strong in Blounds. So he is a critical card in the deck for sure. Stadiums, the Heat Factory is obvious. Synergy with Naga was as well as drawing us cards. The Ultra Space, again, just amazing for searching out our Pokemon. I really do feel like getting a swarm of Poipole down early is really important against these tag team-based decks because we have to reach such high numbers. 270 is ridiculous. That's, you know, 300 damage that we're trying to hit. So 6 energy cards that we have to discard all at once to get a Reshizard knockout. So the Ultra Space is going to come in clutch, I think, a lot of the time, so we can spam Poipoles and Nagas a lot more often. From there, we have the double Welder, the new supporter card that we get from Unbroken Bonds, which has obvious synergy with this deck. You get to attach up to 2 fire from hand if you do draw 3 cards. So again, think of like the Beast Ring as 100 damage, compare that to Electro Power, and then you compare a Welder to a Kukui. Kukui draws 2 and does 20 more damage. Welder does 100 more damage, well, up to 100 more damage, and draws an extra card than Kukui. So if you can meet these requirements, the Welder is absolutely insane. So excellent card to have in the deck. Don't want to have too high accounts because oftentimes it can be kind of like dead. So I still think maxing the Cynthia and Lillie counts is the correct thing to do. But the Welder can come in for some clutch additional attachments and early pressure, which is amazing. From there, we have the 3 copies of Guzma for picking up the right targets, as mentioned. Like Naga can knock out Dedennes, and Blacephalon can knock out anything if you have enough energies in play. So just making sure you're going through the GXs is always a good option. For Lillie to make our hand size big in those opening turns, which is always great. The Beast Energy still doesn't work on PTCGO, fix your game, but it's an excellent card IRL because it gives you an extra 30 damage. Obviously on PTCGO you can get that extra 30 damage, but not when you Lost Zone itself. But IRL, if you Lost Zone a Beast Energy, it will give you that 30 damage modifier. So we still play it for those moments where you can get those Mind Blowns for like one less energy attachment that you have to discard, and also for the Naga as well. And then we have 15 fire, plenty to see throughout the game to start pitching them and have manual attachments throughout the game, and also have weld opportunities, as well as keeping enough in deck to big string them all out as well. So for other options in this deck, there's a really interesting one that was played to a top stage 2 placement in Madison, and that was adding in a Persian GX, that Catwalk being a amazing option really for guaranteeing Beast Rings. And that's basically the whole thing with Blacephalon. It is, as mentioned, like 100 damage in one trainer card. So if you can go Catwalk for 2, you can go ahead and guarantee yourself 200 damage as soon as a Blacephalon gets knocked out. So this Persian's a really cool option. I saw Zach Lesage playing it, but he did cut the Alolan Muk. Personally, I think Alolan Muk is very, very strong right now, so you might have to make spaces elsewhere to make this Persian make sense, but that Catwalk is really cool. And don't forget that you do have Welder, so you could even go for like a Slashback GX attack as an option at some point in the game as well. So yeah, that's a really cool option as a Pokemon that you could be adding into the deck. Outside of that, though, I think the Pokemon core is very simple, and that's where I'd want to like keep it, I guess. The only other option would be a Turtonator, I think. This Turtonator, I think if you go down a heavier Welder route, the Explosive Jet could be a very powerful ally to you as a non-GX that can, again, do this big burst of damage. And instead of Lost Zoning, it's discarding, so it means that you have like infinite amounts of doing this attack if you really have to. And it can be a non-GX option for you as well. But that would only be if you go down a heavier Welder route. If you are going down a heavier Welder route, Fiery Flint is obviously a card that you'd probably want to include. I've been testing around with a build that played 4 Welder and double Flint. It was pretty interesting, pretty cool, but I still think that the more traditional way with just a couple Welders is probably the right way to go after trying out both. But if you want to go down a heavier Flint route, be my guest. It can be a great way to get additional fires into the discard pile because you're flinting them into the hand, and then you're already playing Heat Factory, Ultra Ball, and Treasure in high counts. So the Flint is oftentimes like get fires in hand just to pitch them again, so it can just thin your deck real quick of these 16 energy cards, which is, you know, pretty important because it reduces the clunk factor really early in the game, whereas Blacephalon normally has that sort of thinning as soon as you hit Beast Rings. So before the Beast Rings hit, you can be a little clunky. The Fiery Flints are intended to help out those opening turns of thinning those cards from the deck as quickly as possible. The only anti-synergy is if you do too many Flints or whatnot, if you draw into too many fires, you don't have as many Beast Ring activations as you would possibly like. So that's one reason to not go for Fiery Flint. And then the Lysander Labs is an option, adding an extra way to deny tools. As mentioned, it's good against the Shedinja deck, it's good against Weezing, it's good against a few other decks out here right now, which are tool reliant, as well as being like disruptive against the likes of Jirachi players trying to use a skateboard and stuff. So those are all cool options, but right now I'm just giving you the simple shell of the deck, and we'll jump into the ladder and see how Blacephalon-GX performs. I was testing on stream last night, and it's still pretty straightforward in the goals of the deck. It's objectively just a prize race deck, and there are a few cute decisions here and there, but overall it's not the most difficult archetype to pick up and play. Has a very simple goal in mind: get lots of energies on the board and start blowing the mind of your opponent with your damage output. That's the whole concept of the deck. So we'll jump into some games and see how it functions. I think the biggest things you're afraid of, if Zapdos goes back to Zebras, it's real bad for you. I think there's also like Quagnag and stuff, which is going to be bad for you. And yeah, those are probably your worst matchups. Weezing's also a hard one. Those are all fairly difficult matchups, but other than that, I think like really you're looking to face tag teams and Zoroark. I think those are your favorite matchups. Right now our hand is pretty dead. We do have a lot of outs to draw good stuff. We have 10 supporter draw outs. We have 7 Ball Search outs, 2 Ultra Space, Heat Factory. These are all good outs. We have the 2 Marshadow and the Lele as well. So we have 10, 13, 20, 23 outs to draw cards. 4 Blowns is even just Blown attached pass isn't the worst play in the world. So realistically, we have maybe about 30 draws, which aren't that bad of a 47 card deck. So although this hand is terrible right now, we could live on the hope of a top deck. We are up against the Zoroark. Oh, that's also an option. We can get judged. And that's a better hand. A much better hand. And they're just forced to pass. Ultra Balling away Muck seems good. Now there's a potential for us to just Lele for a Lillie here. I don't mind it. But this is kind of the thing. Like, I like Lele as an option. Just guarantees a supporter for next turn. Getting 7 draws. Our opponent didn't do much, so a Let Loose would be terrible. So it's like times like this where I like having the option of Lele as a ball searchable thing for supporters. Obviously, I could have just like Ultra Balled a... Okay. Yeah, they're going to scoop. We could have just Ultra Balled like a Poipole and got the Cynthia 6, but I think the Lillie 7 plus the guaranteed like Cynthia for next turn was probably a stronger thing that we could have going for us. And at the same time, we weren't forced into a Let Loose, which I always like in this deck, because there are times where you only have Ball Search to draw, but your opponent didn't do anything, and you're like, I have to Let Loose because my hand sucks too. But now having a Lele means that's not the case. There's always the bad opportunities where you can start the Lele. Let's say hello to my friend Callum over here. Seems like a queue into him all the time on ladder. He's playing a lot. I like it. Always practicing this lad. Okay, looks like we got a mirror match. Testing out Clown Town. We get a lovely Ultra Ball, getting rid of 2 fires, and that's always the dream. And I'm just going to grab a Poipole. Can attach, and we'll just Cynthia here. So I draw Poipole, supporter. I think I'm going to hold this hand. Yeah, I like holding it. Guaranteed Naga, the option to let loose if they go with like a Lillie turn 1. A good few options. They're going to kick off with Treasure. They can grab a Poipole. There's also Ultra Space to get them another one, or a Clown. So they're going to have a pretty good board set up their side. Now, a Bursting Burn would put them 1 energy less to Mind Blown us later down the line. But also a Burst, just taking an individual prize, could help them out along the way as well. So I wonder what they're going to go for here. They're going to continue to Mysterious Treasure. They, of course, have the option of letting loose if they want to. I think they just grabbed a Nag. Was it a Nag that they picked up? Yeah. So will they burst? Okay, they will burst. Getting rid of a Blown. Okay. So we can Ultra Space. I think I want to get another backup Clown here. Because I think 1 charging up is all we really need here. I think I'm going to retreat into a Bursting Burn here. Ooh, there's another Nag, which I'll take. Do I want to let loose? We don't have energies in hand. The Beast Ring's only live if he gets, like, Nag Energy, flips heads on this. So I think I want to reload my own hand here. The Guzma's not looking great. The Beast Ring's not, like, useful for a couple turns. So we'll go for a reload here. Seems like a good decision after this. The hand's looking much better prepared for next turn. And we will burn and confuse our opponent. We really want the burn to stick, because that would mean one less attachment for us. And it does stick, which is nice. So now we're threatening a 2-prize knockout. It would activate their Beast Rings before ours. So we'd have to be a little bit cautious around that. But we're hoping the Let Loose does some stuff. We've already got a good amount of energies in play. We can continue to go down that route next turn. So it's looking pretty good for us right now. We're also holding on to our own Beast Ring for when they start making the trade back to us. So we'll see how they want to go about this. They can go Naga. They can also treasure away their first fire. Are they going to let loose us back, or are they just going to grab another Nag here? Yep, it's Nag number 2 for them. They're going to attach their active. And they're going to play a Guzma here. They can Guzma charge up retreat. Wow, I'm surprised they didn't... interesting. They don't have enough to take a knockout. Are they just going to burst and burn us? Put us back in the hot seat? Yep, they're going to burst and burn. Okay, we draw an unplayable. We can Lillie for 3 cards. I think I will be flipping the coin here to try and make him flip the coin. I think our biggest asset right now is that they have a 1-card hand. Now, they did play a Guzma, and they always have the option of... Like, Guzma was a good play that turn. Let's flip the coin. We unfortunately flip tails, so we can burn him back. But there's no knowing whether or not they actually have supporters in hand, or if they're all in on this one clown. If they are, like, they can get us into Beast Rings, we can hit this back, and then he has to try and find Beast Rings, but we'll see. They can space out another Poipole. And they can continue to race ahead of us with a Mind Blown here. But no support from them, so they're really hoping that they can get a supporter or Beast Rings off of their prizes. Maybe they're already holding on to Beast Ring. That's also a possibility. We're going to try and make them have that Beast Ring because we just picked up a Guzma. So it means we can target the other Blacephalon here. Only 1 fire in the discard pile as well is difficult for them in terms of trying to mount a response here. So we can Mind Blown. We go 5, 10, 15, 20. I think I want it all off the Nags. It's rare that we'll do this, but we don't have guaranteed energy for next turn, and we've been through a lot, to be fair. We can always charge up to like either nag as well. And it protects us around confusion plays. If they don't have the Beast Rings, we're protected around confusion plays this way the best. Opponent's able to attach to their nag. Might tell us they're going for... I'm not sure what sort of play they're looking for here. They're going to charge up. They're one fire. Oh, they're actually going to choose to fail this. And charge up with this one. Charge up to the one they attach to. And they do have Beast Ring. So they can respond on this Blound, but what else do they have? Oh, they got themselves a Cynthia off either top deck or prizes. So they're looking for Clown number 4 and more Beast Rings if they can. They have plenty of damage, but because they Beast Ring to this, it tells us they have no more Blounds probably. So now they're looking to Guzma and Marshadow. That's their way to win. They've only played one Guzma so far. And we can let loose this. So let's do our charging ups. We'll let loose. We don't want to give our opponent Heat Factory. That's for sure. You can just attach anywhere to Lillie. Some more cards. Now I can thin this. We'll go 5, 10, 15, 20. I mean, if my clown dies, I lose the game, so we'll just take them all off the back. And it's a waiting game to see if they have Energy Guzma. Because they can charge up to the back. They need to attach, and Guzma's game on either of these guys. See if the let loose has helped us out or not. That'll be a knot then. Okay. They were able basically to survive 2 let looses. Off the first let loose, they got Guzma to get around burn, and off the second let loose, they got Guzma to win the game. So there's some coin flips involved in these mirrors. Also, we lost our 50-50 to confuse him back, so a little unfortunate in the mirror there, I would say, but well played. The double let loose is definitely core. I think that's just so good right now. Early game and late game disruption is just too important to say no to, I think, right now. So even though I've added in the Lele, I still like the double Marshadow for sure. We'll get into another game now. We get to win the flip. It's always nice. And we kick off with a really nice hand here. We've got a Clown, we've got Poipole, Energy, Lillie. Looks pretty good so far. Let's see what we're up against. Well, I see a Dedenne active, so maybe a Pikarom. It's like Pikarom, Reshizard, and Zoro that normally plays Dedenne. Do I save these treasures? I think I do. I think we save them. I want more intel on what our opponent's playing. These treasures can give us additional outs to like let loose and stuff if we need to as well. We see a Slowpoke, so it's probably Zoroark here. They get rid of a Slow King. Yep, it is indeed Zoro. They're able to Lillie for a fresh 6 here. Looking for just Bull Search, essentially. They also have a Rockruff. Okay. They're going to attach DC to their Zorua and just send it our way. Actually draw into another Nag, so we can evolve both up. I will definitely treasure away a fire energy here. We do have a last Poipole, but we have prized our Naga. So I think I'm just going to take Muck just to treasure it away for this Poipole, just to improve our Cynthia. Our opponent's hand size isn't necessarily big enough for a Let Loose to be all that impactful, so I think I'm just going to go for the Cynthia here. With the intention, basically, of just going for a Burst GX this turn. And that's now going to be a Let Loose. It's not a bad hand, though. Getting an extra fire in the discard pile and getting an attachment is two good things. We can do this. Don't think I want to attach the active. I think I'll just attach the Poipole here. Yeah. Then we'll Let Loose. That's a stronger hand. We can get a backup Blown now, which I'm a fan of. And we can just Burst. So it's on our opponent to find a retreating card. It's much more difficult for them to use a Slowking against us. I'm actually just going to attach to a Rockruff here, the Nest Ball. The Burst is really nice. It basically nullifies the Slowking as being like a big threat. He basically has to use... Oh wow, they have nothing. Let Loose has done its job. He can't get any value from this, so we'll put it down. Definitely attach to the active here, and we'll just Cynthia. Remember, our third Naga is not in deck. Ultra Balling. Lillie and a fire. Or do I save this for Welder? I think we just save it for Welder, right? Save it for Welder? Yeah. Beast Ring Welder sounds like a good thing that we could do. Which means I'm not playing the Lillie, which means we're pulling this out. And we can just Mind Blown. Four discards, but now we're 3 prize cards ahead. Our opponent clearly doesn't have outs to Zoroark right now. They might have like a Lele or something stuck in their hand, which could get them back into good shape. Actually going to go into the Slowpoke here. We're going to Devoured Field. Choice Band up. And they're going to Lillie for 5. Let's see if they can hit Triple Acceleration and Slowking. One Slowking in their discard pile already, remember. So Stretch is a target for them. $20 damage for a Tail Whap. Oh, sorry, a DCE for a Tail Whap would do 100 to us as well. So if they do miss the Triple Acceleration, they can still whap us. Then we go for an Ultra Ball here. They grab themselves Persian. This means... Does Ditto come down this turn? No. Okay, so they can Catwalk. Now they can guarantee Slowking Triple Acceleration. Seeing as though we knocked out a Dedenne. And that's the beauty of Persian. They actually have the Stretcher already. And now they're going to Catwalk. And here comes Slowking. It's going to take that big 2-prize knockout with Psychic. But as mentioned, seeing as though we've already bursted, we can just knock this out and then deal with any of his GXs that come down next turn. He's not threatening any non-GXs for next turn. He can maybe go for like a slashback GX or something. But we're also not giving them the chance to Catwalk. so they have to just have that all in hand. I'm going to Ultra Ball away some stuff first, just to thin before I use this Welder. I'm going to Ultra Ball, then Beast Ring, then Welder, looking as hard as we can for Beast Rings, basically. Put this into our hand. And then Beast Ring to the active. Then we'll bench and Welder. It's a huge burst of energy. You can see why this Welder's absolutely insane in the deck. I can continue to dig deep as well. We only have one fire in the discard pile, so that seems like a good idea. Digging again for more Beast Rings, and we hit one, which is absolutely intense. So we have an absolute surplus of energy on our board now. Getting through the Slowking with a Beast Energy is not going to be difficult. We just need to discard 2, and we will still have plenty on board. I'm trying to count as I talk. It's too difficult. We'll just get rid of these. We still have, what, 380 damage? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah, we have 380 damage currently being represented on our board, and we already have Welder for next turn as well. They're going to drop their Marshadow, so they can at least reset the Heat Factory. The Rockruff comes in, but even if they Lycanroc knockout, thanks to the Welder Beast Ring, we were just able to develop way too many attachments this turn. It seems like it's out of Zoro's reach. And you can see why you're much more comfortable with this matchup than you are as like Reshizard, because the Slowking's just a 2-for-1 trade instead of up trading for an additional prize. And when you have like Burst anyway, that one prize doesn't matter too much. It effectively treats itself as a GX Pokemon once you've bursted. Our opponent's going to continue to trade as much as they can here. They've got the counter energy on, counter gain on Rockruff, ready to rumble with its GX attack if they're able to find it. But as mentioned, we have enough damage on the bench already. Yep, and they're just going to concede. So the Zoro matchup is definitely one that we don't mind seeing so much. That's been the case for a while, to be honest. So we can fit in one more game with this Clown Town deck. We're able to go first again here, which is nice. We like going first. Going first is good. It means we don't get let loose, and it means we can let loose other people. Okay. I see a Mew to kick things off. Treasure away at the fire is always happening. I think I'm going let loose out the gate. I feel like holding on to double Beast Rings not great if we're going to like Lele for a Lillie or anything. We'll just let loose here. Our opponent led out with a Mew, so there's always that chance that we can just randomly cheese them. We can Cynthia. We get ourselves another Poipole. We have Welder for next turn to draw cards. Looks okay for turn 1. The Welder's not like an ideal draw supporter, but he's fine. Our opponent is now going to show off that they are, in fact, a Reshizard deck by the looks of things. Yep, it is Reshizard. They got rid of Fire Energy Welder, so their hand is probably pretty good. They're just going to key our way. Not bad at all. We're going to evolve our Naga. Going to keep Ditto open because they might be... If they're playing Mew, they're not just playing the greens build. It means they're playing Jirachi builds, so maybe trying to deny that later down the line is going to be good. So I can attach a Lillie for 3, or I can Welder and Lillie. Sorry, Welder and effectively do the same thing. What am I trying to do this turn? Am I bursting this turn? Make them have another Fire Energy in their hand. If they Ultra Balled away Welder and Fire, would they really have Ultra Balled away another... I feel like they would have kept a supporter card in their hand. It's hard to say. We could even, like, just go for a Guzma play and Bursting Burn, but it's so risky. I feel like Attach and Lillie is stronger than the Welder here, because I want to keep the Welder as an option for when this Reshizard's actually in the way. I think we want to Ultra Ball. It's this. We need a backup clown, I think. Because Beast Rings can be live as of next turn. If everything goes well for the opponent. We're just going to grab our 1 prize now. Probably should have attached elsewhere. Maybe I should just put an energy on the Marshadow or something. We'll see. They have Guzma. That's not bad for us. We can already take a knockout on this guy. We will Welder, so we guarantee that knockout. Treasure for Let Loose to try and find more... Oh, I've already played Let Loose. And one's here. Treasure for Nag for another charge up. I could just manually attach though. Treasure for Muk to try and deny them. Lele, Dedenne. A bunch of other outs probably makes the most sense. Let's try and wreck their outs. Yeah, okay. And they scooped as soon as they saw the Muk, so that probably tells you what was in their hand. All right, so that was Blounds. Powerful deck that can let loose, which is always a good thing. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the archetype and the deck list and the changes that I made. Would you just stick to Ian 60? How valuable do you find that Lysander Labs? Have you been trying out a thicker Welder build with Fiery Flints? I'll hear it all down below. For now though, it has been Joe from OmniPoke, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.